So, in this episode, we learned that the power of 3 charmed powers are transferable to a lot of people. That's just weird. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd, and in this episode we are talking about Charmed Season 2, Episode 13, Breaking the Cycle. This episode is like so much and so confusing in a lot of ways. So I guess I'm just gonna go straight into it because there's just so much. So I will say this. They're definitely trying to separate themselves from OG Charmed a lot, especially in this episode. For instance, in this episode, the 3 sisters get trapped in the command center because they're digging in the command center, and basically it's a test because the Charmed ones have a lot of tests in this series. We're only in season 2. I mean, OG Charmed, I know they got tested occasionally, but not like this. We're in season 2 and they've lost their powers. They've gone through so many different trials, and yet they just seem like, even with the elders dead, it just seems like it's worse. Like the magical realm is putting them on trial. It's crazy. I mean, Barnaby didn't do as much damage when he took Phoebe's, or caused Phoebe to lose her powers in OG Charmed to save Daryl, if you remember that, then the amount of stuff they go through in this episode. I mean, in general, in the entire season, it's crazy. So, okay, so let's just go through it. So yeah, the girls are trapped in the command center, and the only way they set themselves free is to say the unspoken, or basically speak the unspoken, which they, of course, think it's like the secrets that they're keeping from each other. So they go through this whole thing. So Mel talks about how she's sleeping with the bartender Ruby girl, and of course Maggie is basically calling herself a horrible person because she wished that Parker was dead. Macey drops every bomb, which is what I knew was going to happen. She had to actually admit she wanted to be with Harry, admit that she had a problem with her sisterhood, she admitted all this stuff. She wants to be a power of 1. She's not used to having sisters, and she feels like a third wheel. Yes, we went through this in OG Charm with Paige, but with Macey, it is an entirely different level, especially since technically she's the oldest. So she has a lot of problems with this. Now, here's the things that are confusing to me. So in the Book of Elders, they see the charm symbol, and then they see a bunch of names, all female names, all different names, or sets of names, but with the same last name, meaning they are sisters. So they come to the conclusion that those are all the charmed ones before them, and that they were not the first charmed ones, which means it's transferable. So basically, when one sister dies, I guess the power just goes and finds another set of eligible sisters. Like if you remember Buffy, like the old school Buffy TV show, when a Slayer dies, another Slayer kind of like awakens, which is how we got Kendra, and I believe her name was Faith, if I remember her name correctly. Those characters basically came to be because Buffy died at the end of season 1 or season 2. I think it was season 1. With the Master, when she fought the Master, and she was dead for like 5 minutes, but that was enough time for another Slayer to be called. Well, it seems like that's the same principle they're using in Charmed, which is really weird, but it means the power of 3 is not destined for just 3 girls like an OG Charm, because I mean, yeah, to be fair, they were able to reestablish the charmed ones after Prue died with Paige, but they were still sisters. So it's just really interesting that the powers are transferable by death, which means if I had 2 sisters and Macey and Mel and Maggie were gone and we were witches, I mean, that stuff could come to us. That's so weird. You know what I mean? It's almost being like elected into office. You know, you get to have it now, but if during a death, you're next in line. It's just crazy to me. So yeah, that's new and interesting. I do like the fact that we got a little bit more interaction with Jimmy, because Harry starts having these he's making himself go into like these states through injecting himself or sniffing or inhaling, the poison, the dark lighter poison, to get into, I guess, the subconscious or astral plane, or just to get into Jimmy's mind. So we get to see a little bit of Jimmy, and Jimmy does send him on a little mission to Maine, where he finds a girl who apparently has Mel's power. We know where the freezing power went now. It went to this little girl named Cassie in Maine, who accidentally froze her entire town when the magical scientist goons came to extract her. Question, because I have so many questions. So Harry basically is sent to this town to, quote unquote, meet Jimmy, who's not there, but really he sent them there on a wild goose chase, so they think. But it's actually to see that the magical scientist people are grabbing magical people because they're extracting their powers. But Harry goes to Abigail, and says, well, I trust the charmed ones with my life, but I trust you with my death. So if something goes wrong, I can't kill the Dark Lighter. The Dark Lighter can't kill me, but you can kill me, and that will kill the Dark Lighter. So basically saying, I trust you to off me. She makes an ultimatum for him. She gives him an ultimatum saying, okay, you sleep with me for one night and then I'll do it. And I'm like, oh. So like they're trying to create this series version of Wyatt. So, the most powerful warlock, witch, whatever you want to call him, of all of the magical realm. Because Wyatt was like literally Goku from Dragon Ball Z of the magical world, or any other superpowered analogy you have in various comic books. I mean, that's basically what Wyatt was. He did have a dark side that he fought, which was very interesting because a white lighter and a charmed one created this child. So there was not a demonic presence. It doesn't make sense why he always had that dark side, unless he was just born innately evil. Having a child that is half demon, half white lighter, part witch, that does make sense. So actually Wyatt would have done better to be Harry's son than Leo and Piper's. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. Just if we're going to be canon here, to stick to the mythology. It never made sense to me that a charmed one who was a good witch and a white lighter who was an angel would father a child that was prone to darkness. But that's just me. And I understand that he got a lot of interference from outside forces, but still, it was just very strange. But whatever. But yeah, Abby's out to be basically Wyatt's mom in this version. So, and Harry is so slow that he doesn't see it. Now, when they're in the town in Maine and the second round of goons are coming to extract Cassie, to try and take her time-stopping ability, Abigail basically uses the firepower she stole from Macey. How did Harry not see that? Why was that not even brought up in conversation? Like, oh, so Macey went to you to help get rid of her demon powers and you took them. I mean, come on. I mean, this is like not... Why? I mean, you have to have some layer of common sense to see that Abby is up to something. She took the woman you're in love with's power when she stripped them. She just stripped them. She didn't take the dagger, get rid of the dagger, and just move on with her life saying, yeah, I did this, I did a solid for you to basically, impress Harry. No. She took the powers into herself. She used an ability she has never had before with the charmed ones in front of Harry, and Harry didn't say, hey, that's Macey's power. What the heck? So yeah, I'm kind of like a little annoyed with what should be common sense, but obviously there is none. But yeah, so moving on. So the girls all start admitting, their flaws and stuff to get free, because they're being held hostage in the command center by Magical Siri, who gives them like a series of questions. I think they have 5 questions they can ask. And then after they get to their last question, then like these like laser beams that can set you on fire basically are closing in on them, and they have to figure out a way out of it before they die. Well, they start realizing, oh, it's not us telling you, each other's secrets that we've been keeping from each other. It's actually talking about herself. And like I said earlier, that's when everyone starts, having a revelation. Like Mel doesn't want to be responsible anymore. Maggie thinks she's a horrible person for actually being relieved that Parker was dead. And because Macy's like, I just want to be on my own. And I don't want to be in this sisterhood anymore. I just want to be me, so it's like, okay, well, the symbol for charmed ones actually start slowly appearing on the wall the more they start talking crap about themselves and admitting stuff. And then when they're free, this door's open where the symbol is, and they go in and then they see the tree, which is the source of not only the black amber but also the green dark light or poison. They're both basically the same. It's right in that room, and when they go closer to it, there's like this there's a cup with, I guess, the ability, whatever the liquid is, probably black, like liquefied black amber, has the ability to give Macey back her powers. And before she's getting ready to drink it, a guardian who was a previous charmed one shows up, and she does this whole spiel that also was very confusing. She's like, oh no, I'm just here to stop you. The sisterhood, whenever the power of 3 is introduced into your lives, then, it could set you free, but also it could be your downfall. And it happens every time. Every, generation of charmed ones has lost one sister in breaking the chain. And then she goes on to say, oh, but your destiny is your own. I'm like, what? So you're telling me that everybody who's charmed and uses the power of 3 at least loses one sister breaking the power of 3, but our destiny is our own. She also says the power of 3 journey to getting the power of 3 back is another journey. So this is just to get Macey to drink the cup to get her powers back. Now, something I found interesting about this was that the spirit, the previous charmed one, the guardian of past and future, she makes a comment saying that to get to that charmed one, our power of 3 journey, they have to each come to know themselves on their own. They can't, before they come together. And I'm like, they have been on their own the entire season. Like the entire season. They haven't done hardly anything with each other. So you're telling me they have to have more of this? What? How is the power of 3 solo? I don't understand that. That was actually really flipping annoying. I'm just saying. This was not my favorite episode. I will say I did like the fact that Macey did decide to drink, and get her powers back, and the display of her like levitating like a tornado of leaves around her is pretty cool. But yeah, so we're basically told that the charm powers are transferable, that one of the sisters is probably going to die, that they have to have a strong sisterhood, when Macey just said she didn't think that their sisterhood was really strong because she wanted to be on her own and felt like a third wheel, and that they needed to be on this journey to the power of 3 individually. So, yeah. I don't know what the hell's happening in Charm, guys. I really don't. I love having theories about this show. And normally some of my theories, especially some of you guys' theories in the comments, have come true. But this is a train wreck right now. And I'm not trying to be negative. I still love the show. But this is a train wreck. This whole revelation about the charm ones basically being a hand-me-down. I mean, no, it doesn't take away from the fact that the 3 girls still inherited the powers, but then it opens up like a whole other can of worms. Did the girls, remember in the beginning, in the first episode, when the mother was casting a spell to bring them the power of 3 and I guess unbind their powers, but did they have powers when they were younger? And wouldn't Ray have seen his children using their powers when they were younger? Or did she just bind them when they were a baby? Or did she bind Macey's powers when she was a baby? That was never explained. None of that was explained. So if that's the case, did they only get their powers, their actual abilities, through the power of 3? And had they not gotten those, the power of 3 powers, that means they wouldn't have their regular powers? Maybe they really weren't charmed, I guess, in a way. How does that work? Because we know an OG charm, Phoebe and Piper, and eventually Prue. Prue, Piper, and then baby Phoebe. She wasn't actually born yet, I don't think, when they went in the past. She was, their mother was pregnant with her. But you saw Piper and you saw Prue using their powers as children, and they got their powers bound, I think they were bound later on, because they kept using them in front of people. That's understandable. Unbinding it through reading the book is understandable, even though I'm not sure why Gramps did not unbind them, before she died, instead of them maybe coming by happenstance against, finding the book in the attic randomly and then saying the spell that basically unbinds their powers and makes them the power of 3 and charmed ones. I mean, Phoebe could have never gone in that attic and then this wouldn't have been the show. So how does that work in this series? I just want to know, how would that have worked if they were not the charmed ones? Would they have never gotten their powers? So what I want to know. So yeah, it does take an interesting spin to see that many charmed ones before them. There's so many. There's 2 or 3 pages full of names in sets of 3. So yeah. Guys. But at least we got Macey basically making one powerful admission about Harry, and that's when they were initially talking, or basically revealing secrets to each other that they were keeping from each other. She says, in my journal, I drew a sketch of what I thought was Dark Harry or Jimmy, but I think it was actually Harry, and I didn't want to admit it to myself. And we're like, duh. Really? So yeah, that was cool. But side note, the character that plays Ruby is really cool. Her roommates are adorable. I do like the chemistry with Mel and Ruby, even though I still love Nico. And honestly, Jada and her had a lot of chemistry. I actually liked her with Jada a lot. But if I couldn't have Jada back, I definitely want Nico back. So I'm still holding out hope that one of these characters is going to come back. I like Ruby, but Ruby's even this is just a thing, casual. She's not looking for anything big. And, Mel's I don't know how to do this because, yeah, she's always been in relationships, even if they were fast, like Jada's, but she's always been in relationships. So, I kind of feel I really would like to have Nico or Jada come back. And Jada's a really good candidate because she still has her abilities and she's half white lighter, so she should be able to find her, even though she thinks she's dead. I don't know. I think Jada may make an appearance again. I'm hoping, and I really hope she does because I did like the chemistry with them. But that's what it is. But outside of that, yeah, we didn't have Jordan in this episode. Just Abigail doing her dirty stuff, trying to get laid with Harry, basically, to create a magical half-demon baby. Half-demon, half-witch, part whatever. So she can control this magical kid. And Cassie was adorable. And I guess my last thing to say about that whole situation in Maine is that, so they left Cassie alone after they took out the second team, but they know where this little girl lives. So they're going back home. And she's going back with her dad, but what's to stop them from sending another team to finish the job? And Harry's like, oh, if you run into trouble, you have my number. And I'm like, if I'm running into trouble like an extraction, how am I going to have time to call you? It's really? And you're a white lighter. Why can't she just call out? She's a witch. Can't you just sense her, hear her? I don't get it. I don't know. So much is confusing me right now in these episodes. It really is. I'm trying to stay open-minded because it is driving me nuts a little bit. But, honestly, I do love the show. I love the characters. They're just frustrating. The writing is frustrating me right now because it's so all over the place. And, it just seems like they're building up to something that may be a huge letdown at the end of the season. So, yeah. That's just my 2 cents, guys. I have a lot more to say about this. I guess I'll do another theory video soon, but I want to know what you guys think before I do that. So leave me a comment below and let me know. And if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on the Nerd Ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.